Hello everyone, this is Rachit Srivastav. My registration number is 17BC1018. Our project is titled as Load Balancing in Servers, and we have three people in our team. So my name is Rachit Srivastav. So basically our title is Load Balancing Servers, which means that suppose there's a website which acts as a server and we as users act as clients. So when multiple clients access the website or send requests to a website, it is the responsibility of the website or the server to make sure that which process should be prioritized first. Or one more thing, like when multiple clients will access the server, then if there will be only one server, the crash can happen. So basically there are two things to be performed. First is which client should be given priority first, and second is how the servers will be scheduled. Suppose there are 5 servers, so based on some technique we'll be distributing the load on different servers. So this is the main aim of a project. So I can show you that this is the main aim, that suppose multiple clients simultaneously make a request for a file from a server, and if that client count is less than the threshold value, then one server can easily fulfill the request based on priority like burst time, throughput. But if the count increases the threshold, then we have to make copies of the server, and then the problem is how to decide which server to send the request. So the techniques which we will be using in our project involves 4 things. First is multi-threading, so that multiple clients can make requests at the same time. Second is CPU scheduling, because there will be many requests and processes to sort out, so we have to prioritize them based on like burst time, arrival time, etc. And then we have to do server scheduling, which means if the client count is less, then one server is sufficient. But if client count increases the threshold value, there have to be multiple servers. So we have to make sure that if load on a server increases, then different servers should be handling those requests and not just one. And the last component is MySQL database. So my friend will tell you in detail why we are using this MySQL database and what is in it. So basically, first I'll show you a demo of my project, and then I'll give you a brief description about my code. So this is the my clips. So I have client file and server file. So first I'll show you that suppose the first thing is that why we are using multi-threading. You can use it simple also. So without multi-threading, the problem will happen that if server is running and one client makes a request, so server is busy solving that request, and then suddenly another client also comes in and he makes a request. Now unless the first client's request is fulfilled, the second client cannot make the request. That is the problem without multi-threading. But multi-threading makes it possible that several clients can make requests at the same time, and server will prioritize those requests, and based on the scheduling algorithm it will give you the value. So suppose I'll show you, this is the client file, this is the server file. So first I will run the server file. So you can see that after running, it is running on port number 1500 and waiting for the client. So I'll run the first client command. So as soon as I run, it asks for the name. Suppose I'll give my name only, Rachit. So it means that server has Rachit has joined. It means the first client is joined. Now we can add multiple clients using multiple threading. So again I'll make a new client. At the same time, other client is joining, and suppose his name is AAA for now. So we can see two people have joined the to the server. This is the beauty of multi-threading. So right now 2 people have joined, and server is handling both. Now the Rachit will send a request. So I'll go to Rachit. This is Rachit. So we have a database here. Okay, the database have the book name, the author name, the release year, stock quantity, and pages. Suppose you want to find for a particular title of the book, that is namesake book. So I'll copy here the namesake Eclipse, and suppose Rachit makes a request for this book, the whole data for this book. I paste and enter. So you can see that the server has given the answer. So basically what is happening is that the technique we are using here is first come first serve. So since first request is given by the client Rachit, so the complete detail, the title, the first name, last name, everything has been given by it. Now if we go to the second server, that is named AA, and he makes another request on some different books such as let's say American Gods. So now his request will be fulfilled. So as you can see that, see, the request is full. Basically what is happening that multiple clients at the same time can place the request, and based on the technique, like right now we are using first come first serve. There can be many techniques that we'll be using in the future project. So on those, like from those techniques we'll identify how to prioritize my project. So this was a demo, like when multiple clients join, place a request to the server, how and like in what way the process will be handled. So now I'll give you a brief description about my client code and my server code. So I'll go to my PPT. So basically in the client program, I will tell you the most important things. The three important things that we need is object input stream, object output stream, and socket. So basically, object input stream is to take a value from the server. Object output stream is needed to send value to the server, and socket is needed to connect to the server. And also for the client, we need to know the port number, username, so that each client can be unique in itself. And this is the program for the threading part we are using. This is listen from server exchange thread to make sure that multiple clients at the same time can access it. Then I'll give you a brief description about my server program. So basically in my server program, again, one more thing that makes it different from client program is there are two types of socket in this server program. First is server socket, which defines that which is the main server of the project. And then we have simple socket to connect it to the, we have a server socket to connect it to the main server, and the normal socket to like connect, like server socket is used to tell which is the main server program, and normal socket is used to connect to the normal clients that we have. So here also we have used a client thread, and basically we have an array list. We have an array list that stores the value, the unique ID of each and every client. Basically my part was to do the multi-threading stuff. Then my friends will tell you about the MySQL database and which scheduling algorithm, like round robin or first come first serve, what are the algorithms that we'll be needing in a future project. Thank you.
This is Rohan Datta, 17 BEC 1053, and I'm first going to talk about load balancing. Load balancing is defined as the methodical and efficient distribution of network or application traffic across multiple servers in a server farm. Each load balancer set between client devices and backend servers. It receives and then distributes incoming requests to any available server capable of fulfilling them. A load balancer may be a physical device, or it can be incorporated into application of delivery controllers. Regardless of whether it's hardware or software or what algorithm it uses, a load balancer disperses traffic to different web servers in their resource pool to ensure that no single server becomes overworked and subsequently unreliable. Load balancer effectively minimizes server response time and maximizes the throughput. Load balancer can broadly be hardware based or software based. Hardware based load balancer works as follows. They're typically high performance appliances. These appliances may be also contain built-in virtualization capabilities which consolidate numerous virtual load balancer. In contrast, server-based load balancers can fully replace load balancing hardware while developing an analogous functionality and superior flexibility. But the problem it faces is that it is not as efficient as the hardware-based ones. Industrial load balancers can generally be differentiated based on criterion of distribution of request to servers. It can be based on the host based, that is distributing requests based on the requested host name, or it can be path based, using the URL to distribute requests. And the third type is content based, that is the load balancer checks for the content that is sent through the request, and based on that content it searches for the server. Load balancers can also be distinguished based on the layer it exists at, that is network layer, layer 4, application layer, layer 7. Load balancing though is more computationally intensive at level 7 than layer 4, but it can also be more efficient at level 7 due to the added context in understanding and processing clients' requests to servers. In addition to the basic layer 4 and layer 7 load balancing, global server load balancing, that is GSLB, can extend the capabilities of either type across multiple data centers. Some of the functionalities of load balancing are firewall, workload balancing, scheduling algorithms, auto scaling, health check, sticky session, and so on. One common example and famous example of load balancing used in the industry is that of Netflix. Netflix recently has started using a choice of two algorithm rather than the commonly used round robin, which uses one of the two algorithms based on the requirement, join the shortest queue, or an algorithm based on server reported utilization. These algorithms constantly check to blacklist low performing servers and reduce latency on client end. Now I will show a small demo of connecting MySQL to Java using JDBC. A huge advantage of using MySQL as a database is that it is password protected, as seen here. MySQL database server also provides the ultimate scalability to run massive data warehouses holding terabytes of information. Here I've created a simple database for storing information of books like its title, author name, year of release, stock available, and pages. It is similar to asking a librarian for information regarding a book that you want. Here you see the data has been put in tables also. Now I will show a sample code as to how Java can access this MySQL database using JDBC. Here I mentioned the URL of the database in the connected DB class since MySQL runs on a local host. I also mentioned the password and username that will be used for connecting it. In the main class, first I mentioned possible exceptions which I will catch later on at once. Now in the class, we first connect to MySQL using JDBC driver manager. Also, we have the jar file installed to consolidate all information later. I use the connections class to connect MySQL with JDBC using the username, password, and URL. The command connection.create statement provides the data in the form of a statement object. And using the result set object named CodeSpeedy, I can store the MySQL query. Now in a loop, all the details of the books are being printed. This will help in getting all the databases into the main file and to be available for use by the user.
Hello, I am Ashish Kirti Singh, registration number 17BEC1114. Our project is load balancing in servers, where I am handling the part in which I am doing multiple processor scheduling. So in multiple processor scheduling, multiple CPUs are available and hence load sharing becomes possible. In a symmetric multiprocessing, it is important to keep the workload balanced among all the processors to fully utilize the benefits of having more than one processor. Else, one or more processor will sit idle while other processors have high workloads along with list of processors awaiting the CPU. So there are many general scheduling algorithms like first come first serve, shortest job first, and round robin scheduling. But the most commonly used algorithm for multitasking and multiprocessing algorithms is the round robin scheduling. But round robin scheduling is not that efficient because if the time quantum is not chosen wisely, then it will not be optimal, because if the time quantum is very large, then it will act as a FCFS, and if it is very small, then it will yield much overhead and larger average waiting and turnaround time. So instead of using the normal round robin scheduling, we are using a dynamic round robin scheduling algorithm, which is much more efficient than the normal round robin scheduling algorithm. So the approach is to select an elastic dynamic quantum that will allow a process to execute completely if it is remaining execution time is less than or equal to 0.2th of its actual time. So first we find the maximum burst time from available processes in the ready queue, then take a proportion of this time to set the time quantum. As a rule of thumb, we have selected here the 0.8 fraction of the maximum burst time. Now the scheduler assigns the CPU to all the processes in the ready queue with burst time less than the quantum time, while the larger ones are kept on hold. As soon as all the smaller processes complete their execution, the time quantum is set equal to the maximum burst time. So this assignment covers all the above described criteria to give enough time to all processes to complete. For different arrival times, the scheduler recalculates the time quantum at the end of the current quantum only if a new process has been entered the ready queue. So now I will show you the pseudocode. So first we are initializing the quantum time equal to 0.8 of the maximum burst time. Now we are looping over all the processes, and first we are checking the condition. If the current burst time is less than or equal to the quantum time, then we are assigning that process to the CPU, and we after completion of the process we are removing it, that's why n minus minus. And if the burst time is greater than the quantum time, then we are not assigning it, instead we are adding it to the end of the queue, remaining processes. And when the loop gets over and there are still remaining processes left, then we are assigning the quantum time equal to the maximum burst time, and then until all the processes gets executed, the loop goes on and on. Now I will show you the code. So this is the code that I have implemented in Java. So now I will execute it. So it is asking me number of processes. I say 5. Arrival time. So first I will put all the arrival times different. So I have entered all the arrival and burst time. So here it is giving us average waiting time to be 2.4 and average turnaround time to be 5.2. While we compare it with other algorithms, like FCFS is giving 6.6 and 9, round robin is giving 7.4 and 10.2, and SJF is giving 3.0 and 5.8. So we can see that our dynamic round robin is very much efficient than the others. Now what if all the processes come at the same time to the load balancer? So how it will work? So now this time I will put all the arrival time the same again. So this time all the arrival time will be same. So again we can see that the average waiting time is 4.4 and average turnaround time is 7.2, which is very much efficient. So we can say that this dynamic round robin scheduling algorithm maximizes the performance of a parallel system by transferring the task from busy processes to other processes that are less busy or even idle. So it will be very much efficient and optimal to use in our project. Thank you.